What's up, friendly neighborhood nerds? Thank you for watching our video. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring that bell.
What's up, friendly neighborhood nerds? We have a totally radical episode for you guys today. We got Kevin Eastman, co-creator of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, in the house.
Unfortunately, Bree is no longer with us. But she'll be back next week.
We're awesome! Bodacious! Good shit! Gnarly! Radical! Yeah! Total wicked! Delicious! Mega! I have always liked Cowabunga. Huh?
How's it going, Kevin? I've been a huge fan my whole life. I was a kid in 91, 92, and I was into all of it. My mom took me to Coming Out of Their Shells. I watched the show, I read the comics, watched the movies, had the toys and the games, and Michelangelo even showed up to my karate class and showed me some moves. So it's a real honor to have you here. How you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. That was a wonderful introduction. It seems like man, all of that seems like 150 years ago, but it is, it's just a mere 36 years since the first comic came out. But I love hearing stories like that, and that's actually out of many conventions that Courtney and I have done over the years. That kind of story, what you just said, is my favorite thing. It makes my heart happy.
Awesome.
Yeah, that's cool. It's gotta be pretty crazy, huh? When you have like this title, you have this property that is like, you have some stuff that's coming in and out, right? So you have GoBots, you have all these other things, and they kind of fade away. But something about your turtles just forever across multiple generations, and it's got to be something crazy, huh? How does that feel?
Well, it's all you. It's all your fault. So thank you.
Yeah.
No, I think it's one of those things that, when I look at like the kinds of things that I liked when I was a young kid. It's like, I remember the Johnny Quest animated series. I remember the Batman TV series, and reading Batman and Daredevil and all these my favorite comic books in the late '60s, early '70s, and so it's always one of those things that you have a soft spot and you have a warm spot for some of these things that really meant a lot to you when you were that young. So when somebody says like the nice things you guys have said already about the Turtles, it's just something I almost can't go there, because I sort of look at my own inspirations. I like the fact that the Turtles might have been an inspiration or have been an inspiration to you guys, the way some of my favorite characters have been to me, is something I can't get my head around most of the time. But the only reason the Turtles are still here after 36 years is because of awesome fans like you guys and people that have loved them and supported them and sort of tolerated the not as good ones with the good ones, of all things Turtles. So thanks.
So before I get into the question, I know we have a limited time here, but your hat has the original layered drawing, the sketch that started it all. Is there a website where I can grab that hat? I want that hat.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, this is this hat is you can find it on KevinEastmanStudios.com. And actually, if you go to KevinEastmanStudios.com, it pretty much lists not only every new event we're doing, and or when we can get back to it, conventions that we're going to be attending, and certain news and bits of information. But but this was a drawing that I did in 1984, when I was trying to make Peter laugh, and I just said to myself, if Bruce Lee was an animal, what would be the silliest animal he'd be? And I had this idea of a Ninja Turtle, so I mask on, nunchucks on, and said, this is going to be the next big thing, ha ha ha. So I put it on Peter's desk, and he did a drawing, and he changed a few things, and then that was the one that I then took. Said, well, if one, why not a group of them? So that was, I did a pencil drawing of 4 turtles. He inked it in, and that was the thing. That was the spark that started all this thing, 36 years ago.
That's awesome. That's freaking awesome. So you look at that turtle on your hat, and then you look at, the comic books that came out, then the show, then Tales of, you have all these adaptations that have kind of like gone through the last 36 years. So 2-part question for you. And all I'll ask is that you not tap dance around the second part. What's your What's your favorite adaptation that you've seen over the last 36 years? And then part 2 is, what's your least favorite? What's the one that you like? I wish we hadn't done that. If there is one.
Well, it's a really good question, because it is like, I grew up reading comic books in my time, and as you guys did. But say, I'm a fan of Daredevil. I was a fan from the very beginning, and so there were some artists and writers that worked on Daredevil that I didn't like as I liked some of the other guys. And right up until I remember when Frank Miller started on Daredevil in issue 158, and there's been just an amazing things. Yeah, so it was a really, really great run. So each of these things, like Batman, Superman, whatever your favorite superhero characters might be, there's some good parts, some not so good parts. But with the Turtles, besides the original comic book run that Peter and I did, which I kind of point to the first 15 issues, which were the issues that kind of set up the foundation of all things Turtles, and that, of course, is my favorite. But the IDW Turtle comic series that we did, the IDW Turtle Universe, that we finished issue 100 in December of last year, the incredible Tom Waltz was the head writer, but we worked on that. So I figured that I feel that that's one of the more definitive series, because it's very complete. It's the same writer for all 100 issues, lots of different, but the story is an ongoing story, and I think it's the definitive series in that sense. For the ones that I like the least, as much as everybody hates the live-action TV series that had Venus in it, I didn't mind it that much. I worked very hard on the series. It wasn't as good as I hoped it would be. But I feel like some of the more recent movies, 2014, 2016, lost some of the innocence and the purity of the original Turtle movie, where you had a group of teenagers that had to overcome an insanely evil force of bad, and so I felt like those weren't my favorite, but there's some great stuff. We get to see Casey Jones, we get to see Bebop and Rocksteady in a movie finally, those kind of things. So yeah, it's never a huge hate and a huge like. It's just sort of, it's a ebb and flow.
Sure. Yeah, that makes sense.
Awesome. So believe it or not, I was actually an idiot when I was like a teenager, and I ended up getting in trouble. What? So I ended up getting in trouble, and I got arrested for something, and I had to attend alcohol classes. And I remember watching this documentary, or we had to watch this video about dysfunctional families and the various ways that children adapt to a dysfunctional family. And they talked about there were these 4 archetypes. There was the leader. One child might emerge as a leader. One child might be a kind of a peacemaker type. One child might be more reclusive, and then one child he or she may very well be more of a rebel type. And the whole time I was watching that, I was thinking, it's the Turtles. Is that kind of where you got that idea for those archetypes?
From an alcohol-related incident class?
I grew up in Maine when we started drinking around the age 9 or 10 anyway, so it's sort of a... Okay. No, I'm kidding.
That's
totally kidding. No, but it was one of those things that I remember from a couple of my favorite comic books, and they're dramatically different, is say the Fantastic Four, which I love the Fantastic Four, especially the early issues. And then there was another comic book that DC published. It was a World War II based comic book called The Losers, and it had like a Navy captain and a gunner and so what I loved is that each of these comics had characters with dramatically different views on how a situation be handled. Say, one guy was more technical, one girl was more philosophical, one was more humorous. And so I love the fact that you could have a diverse group of opinions like you can with your own families, depending on the size of your family. But it always was the idea when everybody came together as a group and sort of trusted each other and worked all their strengths for the single cause, that was how they were able to overcome some of these things. So it's a pretty standard story mechanism, but it's one that I really enjoy because you can really come up with some tension and you can have some great arguments and great counterbalances and different perspectives like we do in life. So it's but it was definitely stereotypical. So
Nice. Yeah.
That's pretty awesome.
It works for sure.
So you had those. So
then
you had those. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh no, I was gonna say, and then you add Jenica to the mix, and
Yeah. So you had Jenica. So you had the 4, right? So you had this this proven kind of formula, for however many years. I know you brought up the often forgotten Venus de Milo. I'll be honest with you. So I'm a 1980s baby, like right on the dot, right? So as soon as the TV shows popular, right? So 90, 91, 90, it gets exploded. It's taken over my whole life. I'm like 11 and 12. By the time Venus de Milo comes out, I'm 17 and a little bit past Ninja Turtles at this point, and then I fall back into it at around 30. And so I missed that whole thing. Now we have Jenica. So I know you didn't create Jenica. It's a Tom Waltz and Ken Gehring. But how do you feel about Jenica and where it's going now? Like, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, the best part of being part of the IDW universe since 2011 is I got to work with Tom and Bobby, and we sort of would, survey and plan and figure out where the series was going. And to be honest, the first year, we were just hoping to get through the first year. And then once we established a nice following, a solid following, so that we'd look to what we'd do in year 2, then we'd do in year 3. So all of our story conferences and meetings were all related to things that we like about different turtle universes, because the IDW turtle universe is a universe within itself. It's a universe that plays on a little bit of the Arc universe, the original black and white universe, a little bit of the cartoon universe, a little bit of the movie universe. And so Tom and I were both huge fans of strong female characters, which is what we wanted to do with April, or going further with, say, a Sarah Connor or a Lieutenant Ripley and those kind of things. So Tom said he loved Venus as a character and thought it would be great to have a female character like we tried in that, but he said we have to approach it differently, and I agreed. I feel like with Venus we just sort of boom, here she is, and then I think existed. So when Tom created the character of Jenica for issue 51, and as it sort of grew in popularity within the Turtle universe, the Turtle fan base of the Turtles IDW series, we looked down the road and we said, this is a great opportunity where the fans already love her, so we could transition her into a female turtle, kind of like the She-Hulk kind of thing, through blood transfusion and that kind of thing. So we were working towards it. We knew we were going to do it. We were working towards it for about 2 years before it actually happened. So we were pretty excited, as well as very scared that the fans could have been resistant to it, as well as they could have. Thankfully, you guys embraced it, and I love Jenica, and I'm excited to see where we got a lot of plans for her. So I'm excited to see where she goes.
Yeah, I think it looks awesome so far.
Kevin, as you can see, I might be a little bit of a heavy metal fan, but I know that you're the editor of Heavy Metal, and I know that you guys have some really exciting stuff coming up, specifically with Sun Eater. And is there anything you can tell us about that? I'd like to know more.
Sure. No. What's been great about Heavy Metal is when I discovered Heavy Metal magazine in 1977, it was an interesting time for me, because as I was just going into high school, and I was kind of growing out of comic books as we knew them at that time, because they were still sort of regulated by the Comics Code Authority. So comics were made for kids, intended to be kept being made for kids, until Heavy Metal came along, and suddenly you have all these fantastic European artists and underground, American artists, and it sort of broadened the scope of whatever you can tell for any age group. You can tell it with a comic story as much as you can in movie and TVs and things. So it just sort of, I fell in love with Heavy Metal, and then thanks to the Turtles, I was able to buy it in 1990, and then shepherded it to continue that balance of European artists, American artists, but anything that was not superhero. everything else in the world of comic books was in that. So last year we evolved heavy metal further down the road to wanting to expand into a lot more self-publishing, go back to some more independent publishing, as well as what we're doing with the ongoing series. So including, there's a whole line of comics that are coming out through Virus, is an imprint that's part of the series. So we have this Virus imprint that's doing a lot of creator-owned stuff. And so that was very near and dear, and that I love. Embracing the independent artist is that's exactly where I started. So I think that there are a lot of opportunities, and to me it's a matter of what the comic market can bear, because it's like, I'm like you guys, I go to the comic store, pretty much every week when we could, and I always looking for new ideas and fresh things to read, and just that awesome creativity that you can find only in the world of comic books. So once our business model gets back on track, I'm looking forward to exploring more ideas through heavy metal and some other things we're doing. So it's but I look forward to your thoughts on projects like Sun Eater.
Is it going to be sort of like the Image model, where the characters and properties are creator owned and you don't have the overhead, but the creators, it's on them to publish their work through your label, kind of thing? Or
pretty much.
Cool.
Pretty much. That's what Matt Medney, who's the new CEO of the company, and is that, because it's hard to, the comic market is an interesting sales model right now, in that there's 90% of our business is consumed by, 4 publishers. Two get most of it, Marvel, DC. Then you have, companies like Dark Horse and even IDW. Boom is a big one. And so I think when you have independent stuff, it's sort of, there's not a lot of wiggle room for those kinds of books or those kind of projects to find their way into the comics store. So it's just broaden it with a heavy metal imprint or something that can bring attention to it. Then maybe we can get a foothold and continue to grow it. But it's, it still does. We don't have the finances to support it in the way we'd like to. So it is a matter of it's up to the creator, independent creator, to make it happen.
All right. Before we let you go, do you want to give us like and I understand if you're tight-lipped, but do you want to give us like one exclusive, you heard it here first moment about Sun Eater, something to like, all right, let's get this,
or maybe the Last Ronin, maybe something about that, or.
Oh, there you go. Well, that's good. I'll be selfish and I'll say, like, Sun Eater, look for it, follow it, and I think you'll be happy with what you see. More selfishly is I love the you bringing up the Last Ronin, because that's the next thing I'm doing with Tom Waltz, and the Last Ronin is based on a story that Peter and I wrote in 1987. It was like basically a complete beginning, middle, and end story. That has sort of been on a shelf for a long time, and that's something we always hope to do together. Pete's pretty much retired these days fully, and so Tom and I, when we were going past issue 100 and we wanted to do something to take it to the next level, we dusted off this story and said, well, it was set 30 years in the future when we wrote it in 87, which is funny because it would have been in 2017, set in 2007. So we set it future again, so it's about 15, 20 years in the future, and it is going to be it's probably the most edgiest version of the Turtles that has yet to be seen. So it's sort of, it's kind of Dark Knight-esque in many ways. Yeah. It's sort of looking down one possible future, one possibility, and then sort of where that could go, where it could lead to. So it's but it's going to be 5 40-page issues. So it's going to be a big 200-page beast, which
I can't wait.
Yeah, it's all the action, it's like everything you could ever hope for as a grown-up fan of Turtles is going to be in Last Ronin. So I think you're going to really get a kick out of it.
Awesome.
I'm so excited.
Sir, we want to thank you. We want to be respectful of your time and make sure that you get out of here on time for your other appointments. But thank you so much for joining us. It is no exaggeration to say that you were at least 50% of my entire pre-adolescent childhood, the other half being Power Rangers. So between you two, just took over all my And I want to say that on behalf of my mother, I'm pretty sure you hurt my grades a little bit, so I expect an apology, written apology later, for all your. But thank you, honestly.
With a sketch.
There it is.
Deal. and please tell all your parents thank you for all the support over these years, because it's like
Right.
They weren't buying turtle stuff for you. They helped give me the greatest job ever. So thank you guys for giving me a great job, a great life.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you.
Guys, yeah.